In this video I'm going to show you one way to draw really simple people in perspective so that you can draw a crowd of people in a simple space. So let's start by drawing the head as a simple oval and then add the neck and more circles to represent the body in its basic form. The upper leg and a circle for the knee perhaps, and the lower leg and the foot. And then we can add a circle for the shoulder and then an upper arm and a forearm. The aim of drawing a basic person like this is just really to get the general proportions of a person so that it looks okay. It doesn't need to look great, it just needs to look okay. There are lots of ways of drawing people. Some involve measurements, but I would suggest that the best way is just to draw these sort of simple basic people. And then you can see if the proportions look right or not once you've drawn it. So rather than worrying about if it's right or not, if you just put the circles and ovals in first, and then just see if it looks okay. We're all different shapes and sizes and proportions, and I think you'll soon see if the head's too big or the feet are too small for it to be generally realistic or not. So just trust what you see once you've drawn it. So after erasing the pencil lines to make them a little bit fainter, then I'll start to add some of the details to this drawing. I'll put in the features of the face just with small little marks, just a mark for the eyebrow, a mark for the eye, nose, mouth, etc. And a bit of hair just with some shading. And then I'll work down through the body, adding the clothes and the folds in the clothes and the style of clothing that I've chosen to draw. So I'll start by adding a collar and a tie, basically because they're quite nice shapes to draw, and then a collar of a coat. I think when drawing clothes, it's a good idea to think about the body underneath the clothes. That would make sense. But also about how the clothes sort of fold and move so that it gives the impression that the person, in this case, is sort of walking towards us. So in the shape of the clothes and the way that the folds are in the clothes, I want to indicate that slightly, that the person's coming towards us and maybe their hand is holding part of their coat. And maybe there is layers of fabric, so there's one, maybe a coat and then a jacket underneath the coat. And then the shoes will be at different angles because of the weight of the body of the person. So if you think about, for example, when you're standing, if you have your weight on both of your legs or just the weight of your body just on one leg, and if you're walking, how that weight would be dispersed. Those sort of things are really useful when you come to draw. Then it helps you think about what you can actually see in your drawing and how the movement of the person can be created just by drawing a few lines that represent some of this movement and weight as much as accuracy in an anatomical way. So now I've just about finished drawing the first person. I'll show you one simple way of drawing a crowd of people all in perspective. Now there are lots of different ways of drawing people in perspective, but the main thing is the horizon line is the line of the height of the viewer, the height of the eyes of the person who's looking at the people. So we're going to be standing, looking at this person that we've just drawn, at the same height as they are, and therefore the horizon line, because we're the same height as they are, is going to be just behind their head, behind their eyes, because our eyes are the same height as their eyes. Now what that means when you're drawing a crowd of people is anybody who is the same height as the person doing the drawing, and in this case the person that we're seeing first, the adult that I've just drawn, their heads, if they're adults and similar height, will also be on that horizon line if the ground is flat. So we're going to make it simple for ourselves by making the ground, the thing that everybody's standing on, flat. So the horizon line will be the line where all the heads go of everybody who is an adult. So if along this line we draw little ovals of different sizes, they can be, or they can become, different people's heads. And depending on the size of the oval, will tell us how big the person will be. So in this drawing, the next people that I'm going to draw are going to be the same height as the first person, but they're going to be further away. That means their heads are going to be on this horizontal line, but their feet aren't going to be as low as the first person. That means their heads, the ovals, need to be a little bit smaller than the first person. For the first person in this drawing, I drew the basic shapes, but for the other people, I'm just going to sketch them in, starting with an oval for the heads, and then sketch the clothes in, showing, like I was talking about before, the sort of the weight and the movement of the person, keeping an eye on the proportions and the height of the person. So with these two people here that I'm just drawing, I can reference the first drawing, the first person that I drew, and make sure that everything's slightly smaller because they're slightly further away. So now I've sketched the second and third person in a little bit. I'll start on the person towards the right, and they're going to be not shorter but further away, so the actual pencil drawing will be shorter, but they'll be the same size but just further away, so the head's slightly smaller than the second and third person. So clearly there are lots of ways of drawing, but for this one I'll try and explain how you can get lots of people into a drawing. So once you've got two people, one near and one far, you can draw a line through their heads, which will be very similar to the line of the horizon. But you can also draw a line between a couple of the people that you've drawn from their feet. And where the line from their heads and the line from their feet meet, that will be a vanishing point. A bit like if everybody was standing in a row and they were all the same height person, they would all fit within those two lines, those two diagonal lines that I'm just drawing now. So their heads would be on the top line and their feet would be on the bottom line. But if these people moved left or right in the page, they wouldn't change size. It sounds odd to say, we all know it, but it sounds odd when you say it out loud. People only get bigger as they get nearer you, and they only get smaller as they go further away. But if they go left or right, they stay the same height. So in a drawing like this, once you've got a few people and you work out how they relate together, you can start drawing with more confidence, knowing that the figures that you're drawing will have space around them and the space is well depicted. It sort of almost seems that they could walk between each other and towards each other, and they could run between each other, and it would still work as a drawing. So the basic principle of this drawing, of keeping all the heads on one height, is a very simple way of creating quite a dynamic image where you can have lots of different people doing lots of different things. And then you could put them in an environment of maybe people at a beach, people in a city walking around. There are lots of things that you could do with this technique, but in this video I'm just trying to show you the basic steps for it. The next stage, I'm going to speed up the video and draw in some of the details of the people. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you find it useful for your own drawing. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Circle Line Art School, for many more art videos. There's a new video each week on a different art topic. Please click on one of the links below to see some of my other drawings in perspective. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.